Hello there, and welcome to Planet Collingwood. This call will be recorded for legal reasons, and I can't. I don't get calls. So anyway, you have a good idea and start the show, and then you trip over and have a better idea. This is also, we're on Skype, and we're all wearing pants, so no Zoom wank. Big thank you to Why Not and Co. for the last 2 hours for the Y-Files. If you enjoyed listening to the chaps, most of them are mobile, which is, very conspiracy theory. We don't know where they're broadcasting from. They're on the road. And I've been watching a lot of Justified, so I may slip into a Kentucky accent at any moment, y'all. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to Revolution Radio, revolution.radio or freedomslips.com and donate what you can so we can continue broadcasting. Some say truth, some say not truth, but at least we find out. Questions are asked and we can talk them through. That's the main thing. Once you're at the website, pop into the merch, the swag, or the Zazzle site and buy onesies for the kids, T-shirts, caps, key rings, whatever you like. I would say walk around and show off, but it's 2 weeks from the election. And I wouldn't leave the house, y'all. See, I told you, I'm just going to sleep. I'm going to slip into Kentucky because I'm up to season 5. I started on Sunday. If you'd like to join Planet Collingwood, it is Monty_Dean on Skype with pants. And just message me and I'll add you to the call. If you're on my contacts, just message me. That ruined it. I'm just reading chat as well. Once you're at the website, pop into the chat room and hang out with like-minded, people, just lovely people overall. Because, a Phil asked, is everyone going the full Monty? And it was like, no. And I hate that. The film's all right. I just don't like doing it. All hail the Roe Nation. Mr. Roe's in there. So all bow down to the Nano King. I have been joined by 3 auspicious. See, I've been listening to Boyd Crowder, and he used big, pretty words. So I may get them wrong, but there you go. And I have been joined by Steve Zerilath, Brandon Young, and the Viking. Steve, how are you?
Hey there.
There we go, as we fumble for the mute button. Brandon, my rap partner, we were in a group called Public Energy. He was B Young. I'm Mont D. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing well, thanks, Monty. How are you? Good to be here. Thank you for having me on, Jack. It's me, Joe Biden. How are you?
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message. And the wonderful Viking, our Northern Californian correspondent. How are the fires there going, Viking? Are they calmed down? Can you see?
Yeah, they're basically been squelched. They're down to a minimum. And how you doing, guys? Monty, good to be on.
And if I'm producing myself, hopefully, yes, I believe I have. We have our South American correspondent, Bruce MacDonald. How are you, Bruce? Central
American.
Doing better than me because you know where you are.
Yeah. I'm well, thank you.
Excellent.
Hi, guys.
I'll get the ball rolling. Just from a personal note, the energy, time's all wibbly wobbly, as Brandon would know. And didn't we do this yesterday? I'm sure. It's hang on, I've got a show today. I'm sure we did that yesterday. And the energy's been really weird over the last week. And I'm sort of trying to figure out, I'm realigning to some frequency. It feels like that my dream bubble is tuning into a better TV station or something at that level. And, of course,
I can speak to this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not an ego death or something, but, I'm sure, Viking, you felt a change as well, because it's all unique and personal to everybody. And, other people have gone through stuff where they have aches and pains. Some of the ladies, their bras don't fit, and then they do. So, you wake up and it's which avatar am I in today? And for me, I've changed the analogy where it's choose your own side, be your own shaman, and stand or be in the stands and watch the global narrative unfold. But I'm getting to the point like this game's boring. I've stood up and I'm heading towards the exit. Viking, how can you add? What's your perspective over the last week, energy-wise? We'll get to all the political stuff. Don't get worried.
I have an amazing analogy here. If all your Harry Potter fans out there, when the track was at 9.5. If you're into 3D going towards that pillar, you're going to crash and burn. But if you're able to like really understand and have the faith and courage to do the 180 and wake up out of this dystopia, you're going to pass right through to a whole new reality, right? And that's exactly what's happening here. You know, the Galactics dialed back these human residents for about 3 weeks. And the past 48 72 hours, they ramped it up again. They started to ramp it back up to kind of, it's increasing our energetics and really forcing us. It's like putting your toes in the fire here, man. You have to really come to understand that if you're still struggling, if you're just still in this, fear and hatred and judgment, because those are concepts that you still bought into as implants. All those concepts are just dark spells put forth by the Dark Orions to keep us lockstep in their agenda. And you can either, you can wake up and understand that this is no longer serving humanity, or it can still be part of it. We're in between two worlds, literally in between two worlds. You have to place your bet.
Yeah. Gentlemen, who else are on the call? How would you...
Yes, I'd like to say I spoke to the Orion Council. Very nice people, really nice people. They like me a lot. They think they honestly think I'm the greatest president to ever be a president of the United States, and they want me to win the next election.
That is the worst Donald Trump I've heard, and I've heard my own impression. It's huge. I still can't do his voice, unfortunately. And I'm sure the Orion Council are nice, but everyone below, just wow. One thing I have noticed as well with just like what's happening in the UK, Ireland as well, where they're putting in all these measures and they don't make sense here in Victoria where, you're allowed to do stuff, but we're still in for, when you've got two ideas in the brain and they're opposite and I can't remember the label for it. It's like that, and it's really weird. Steve, how's your week been?
Woo! Skating on thin ice. I'm contemplating whether I need to make a temporary surrender until after the election. And there's probably 20 bazillion human beings that are saying you probably should have been surrendering since March. You're an idiot, Steve.
But that's your experience. See, there's no wrong answers, but you're right. You're wrong. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I accept that I am stacking on what would basically be negative karma, but it's part of the fight in me. And sadly, there's this thing that has to be my adversary.
Well, that's and that's sort of what Viking and I'm part of the Unfrackers group because I can't say the actual name over the airs, strangely enough, because I want to keep the station on air. It's in a way, as Viking had mentioned, the frequencies have gone up, and it's like when you're cleaning a teacup and you've got most of the gunk out, but there's one or two little stains left, and it's sort of where we're completing our forms of like, that, and there's an element of like old stuff's coming up, and if you recognize it, you can push through it, and then it dissolves away because you recognize it. So in a way, like the inner work, which like 10 years ago would have been really hard, now it's like, you're a dick, and then it disappears.
What's interesting is in doing your so-called resolution or resolve of your karma, it's important to realize, you don't have to pick the scab and tell it's a gaping wound. You really, the scab is there and it will fall off. If you can basically speaking about your surrendering here, by surrendering and letting go of this template of 3D, of this pain and suffering, when you start to identify and use this higher awareness, your higher sense of being as your negotiating platform, those scabs will just disappear on their own. It's like where you put your attention is so important, to put it into your passion, to put it into your vision, to put it into your You have to time travel here and start stapling in this utopia, how you visualize your life in the next 3 to 5 years as being, and in the golden age, it will literally change the dynamics.
Oh, yes. Bruce, from your perspective, how's your week been?
Well, it's Wednesday or Tuesday night. Yeah, pretty good. I mean, Monty, where I live, you can't tell the difference between a Tuesday and a Sunday.
No, I would say like sun's out or it's not. It's day, night, and you have no.
It's the 12-12-12 life, 12 hours of sun, 12 hours of dark, 12 months a year.
You don't have daylight savings at all, will you? Because you're at the. You do even on the equator. Oh, that's.
Well, I don't. No, we don't change anything here, but most of my business I still do. So
there's a 45-minute conversation where we'll just get to the end and it sucks.
Yeah,
because like at the moment, I know the States is moving on the weekend, 2 weeks or whatever. It's the end of the month, and Australia's done it, and so the planet's all in that strange, weird thing. So, from my perspective, for the election night show, it's got to be an hour later. From my perspective, but we're still locked into 2 a.m. East Coast time. So, yeah, I know what you mean.
A reminder to all Americans, please contact your registrar of voters and just be sure that everything's in order so that way nobody says, well, I don't see you on the list, because it can happen. It happened to my dad in the Republican 2016 primaries.
Oh, interesting. Have you noticed all the Hollywood celebrities like, go out and vote, and you just want to hear them sort of go, go out and vote for Biden. The people that are pushing to go and vote, they think they're going to vote out the president. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're jumping the shark there. I mean, you probably will get people out to vote, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
They're primarily doing that because they could go and endorse if they wanted to. I mean, like, everybody knows who they want you to vote for.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But there's the spiritual reason behind it, because voting is vowing, right? When we vote, we have to accept that we do this, and there's reasons why we got to do it, and we have to unfortunately accept the karma of the horrible things that we do as a nation collectively. It's either that or we break up and we don't have tribe at all. It's just squaring the circle to where we can do this with something that we don't even call government anymore, but still kind of gets the job done in a focused way. Point being is that you're vowing to the authorities, right? It's just like, because when you lose, at least you voted, so you participated in the game. You have to accept the new people in charge.
Yeah, and there's 3 options. Orange Man, Mr. Magoo, or not voting at all. And whatever you choose, just make sure you choose it for yourself.
Yeah.
So,
that's emphasis on the goo.
Yeah, my nickname for Biden is Magoo, because like I think even Mr. Magoo's like, what's wrong with that guy? Because it's like, all right, let's open a can of dear God, what's wrong with them? Let's see. In the last week, we've seen that they've reinforced that the Democratic Party is corrupt, the media is corrupt, the big tech companies are corrupt, because I've seen photos of Hunter Biden asleep with a glass pipe in his mouth. And very quickly, a very funny point of view is like people call it a crack pipe, and the fact checkers on, I think it was Facebook, said that, well, that's not 100% correct. It's a meth pipe. Like, like that's going to change the whole reality of the situation. No, it's not a crack pipe. You're wrong. It's a meth pipe. Yeah.
So I've been hearing in the woodworks that, Hunter's situation is like, and it's not that he's like a good person, but it's that he was the abused one in the Biden crime syndicate. And so Biden basically is being the Loki of his father and screwing it up on purpose. Like, not even for like America, but like for more selfish reasons, but it's going to benefit America.
Yeah, it's just, and I think there's been a push. See, that's the other part of where I'm trying to walk away from the global narrative. So my radar's got really small, and so what I really need to know does get through to me, instead of me hunting down, say, like 10 years ago, where I would just absorb all that information. I got to the point where I was addicted to finding new information and putting things together, and because we're in a weird, wobbly time, as Viking says, between worlds, which you can sort of sense, and it's frequency, not like the planet's going to rip apart into two physically, but it's more of a frequency thing. I don't want to get drawn into it. I'm kind of over it, but I don't want to go. I'm not one of those people who are like, I want to go home. I'm a starseed. I'm an Arcturian. I want to go home. Well, no, you've made agreements, and you're here for a reason. And so, if you've seen those movies, Ip Man. If you like your kung fu, it's awesome. Ip Man was the teacher of Bruce Lee. And in the first movie, I think I got 20 minutes in, he's fighting 5 or 10 people. Around about 5 people. And he's just centered and so zen while beating the crap out of all these 4 guys. Like, he's moving, he's completely calm, and he's defending himself. And I'm like, I want that. I don't want to beat up guys, because that's not me. But it's that peaceful quietness, and you can defend yourself type thing. And it's interesting with I'm going to get the name wrong. Wing Chun, I think that's it.
Wing Chun.
Yeah, it's when you defend, you're actually attacking at the same time. It's very it's logical. So if someone attacks you, you defend at the same time, so you can take down your opponent quicker. So that's sort of where I'm at, where I'm not in defensive mode. I'm trying to find that quiet, still spot, but no mother lovers coming up on me, y'all.
Monty, if I may, the parallel that came to mind about that, right? Because I'm the same exact way. The truther, because that's part of the truther characteristic, is what you basically described, where like your whole like mindset is the information consumption and whatnot. But now you've kind of reached a certain peak of the overarching knowledge you were looking for, and now you're refining it into something for a new, more specific phase of your journey.
Yes. Sorry, I was just fumbling for the cough button.
I thought of, you see, Odin hung from Yggdrasil for 9 days to gain the secrets, the runes. Runes mean secrets, right? So you've gone through your 9-day process. You've gone and filled yourself with the woad, the feverish level of self-consciousness, and so now you're at that awakened level. Your Odin divine mind is now right where it needs to be, and now you're ready to go and really play in your shaman world.
Ooh, yes. Because I had a sort of a realization that I felt like, I've got to word it correctly, because it's it felt like there was a part of me being part of an archangel. It doesn't mean I've got a flaming sword, which I just thought was like, hello, sailors. It's not that flaming sword. It's more of this, it's like when I try to explain to people, so what's your thing on religions and spirituality? Well, they're two different things, and I'm not into religion because that's man-based, spirituality source-based. The spiritual side is that I'm a fractal of the Prime Creator having this experience. So just like you, I'm God. And then there's 20 minutes of arguing. It's like, well, if you're God, where's all your powers? Agreements were made. I'm a spirit having a human experience on this planet. And from a personal point of view, I'm almost turning into a spiritual Karen again because I want to see the bloody manager. It's like, really? How long? Go ahead, Viking.
Well, they call it the bifurcation of your higher oversoul. Your bifurcation is you looking at you. So you're playing out this karmic gauntlet, this grand experiment, while your higher soul is looking on with its flaming sword.
Yeah, it's the melding, which I just created in my head. So there's got to be a tipping point, like I don't know if I'm creating, but I've sort of accepted if we turn into the timeline that the New World Order comes in, it won't last 8 weeks because I've seen how governments are supposed to be run, with this whole freedom thing, where I've seen videos of Victorian police arresting a journalist without knowing why. because it's so confusing with the statutes and laws and all this other stuff. And Ireland, if you're still in that research, investigation mode, check out what's happening in Ireland. A whole country's been shut down for they've had one case or one death per week or something like that for 7 months, and they're just locking down hard. And the Irish people have noticed it, and they've been protesting all the way through. And if you know any Irishmen, they don't like being told what to do. You can suggest things, but if you start going, you can't do that, Patty. Well, I think I will, Seamus, or I'll punch you in the face. Yeah, metaphorically, of course. Oh, it's going to be one of those shows where there's a lot of pauses when I say things.
Hey, so I can mention another fractal that we're all dealing with here is Mercury retrograde, which has really been an intense cycle for Mercury retrograde. I've had so many meltdowns and crashes and burns, but again, these are all designed to help you. To just be aware of the fact that what you're struggling with is something that you're still holding on to as a precept of reality, which no longer serves you. So it's been a great time to just shed these old fractals and these old soul charts. And ironically enough, it goes direct on November 3rd.
Yeah, and you've got Halloween in the Northern Hemisphere, Beltane in the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah, I'm a stickler, and I'm going to point that out. Which
is a blue moon, full blue moon. Hadn't happened since 1946.
Yes, so add on to that, and that's three days before the US election. You've got Mercury going in, and bang, bang. It's energetic-wise, it's just setting it up where I've already decided, same with Steve, we're at the point of the next 2 weeks I'm just going to try and live, and I may clean my house or something. Because realistically, it's just going to, I was trying to think the Prime Creator has left Earth boiling on the stove, and he's had a couple of wild turkeys and keeps coming in and turning up the heat just to, this will be funny. Because you can feel that energy sort of building, and I think that's sort of... an aspect of me is that, okay, I can feel it, and it's like, no, and then withdraw from that energy. So it can sort of, any port and storm type deal.
So last Friday I had the council's theme was calm but before the storm. And we went over a couple of venues that might occur, but the second hour, Valiant Thor came on and did a whole hour-long presentation about how basically the Trump's government and a lot of the Senate and a lot of his round table are actually walk-ins from the Pleiades. So I mean, he's pretty well fortified as far as his camp goes, and I still feel that there's destiny here that's to play out.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see because clearly we've all planned this 10,000 lives ago. Planet Collingwood will go to air 2 a.m. Wednesday morning, and we were on air 4 years ago when Trump did his acceptance speech. And I've told the story before. My heart's gone. We're on the right timeline, mainly because Trump. I wasn't ecstatic that Trump won. I was extremely ecstatic that Hillary lost. And it's interesting to see, right, as you step out, it's interesting to see that in a way it's not the last battle, but it's the first battle because people, Trump's an idiot, he's doing bad things. It's like, yeah, but then you see what Biden, there's so much worse. And so, from one perspective, it can be seen as it's you choose the lesser of two evils type deal. And however, I'd like to get to the point where I can actually criticize the president in a nice, polite, respectful way, and he can move forward. Which you couldn't do. You couldn't say anything about Obama for 8 years. And I haven't really sort of not attacked Trump. I hate all this shitty language. Well, I hate this language. Pardon me. The thing is, if Trump did something wrong, and it's like, well, he should do something else because there's pros and cons, blah blah blah. I would get lost in that din of the leftards, the crazies where they, Trump said hello and he should have said goodbye, all that ridiculousness. Where the whole Biden emails. Apparently, that's Russia again. Yeah, it's like, oh,
Wait,
that's
so
all right. Yeah,
Valiant,
It's the end of the line.
Valiant Thor,
yeah.
the
There will be.
Valiant Thor called into a radio station.
Well, it was channeled.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. Valiant Thor doesn't have a mobile and he's sitting just outside of Mars. You know what? I'll talk that Viking chap. It's not that level. It's channeled through. And how long have you been doing the show Viking? On I know it's over 2 years on Revolution Radio, isn't it?
No, it's I started January last year.
Okay.
But before that, I was on Wolf Spirit for about 2 years.
Yeah, and most of I think all of the Revolution Radio shows are on Christopher's YouTube, so it's fascinating to have a listen.
We've actually done another thing where the past 10 shows that people will hang out, and we do what's called the Galactic Interstellar Council after show, where I get a chance to talk to them directly, like an interview, where I interview them for over an hour about all their galactic relationship. We talk about the various veils of our reality and all the different elementals and the galactics and their purpose here, and when they came here, and Maldek and Atlantis and the bifurcation of Asgard and the different races that were here and how they settle on this planet. It's fascinating. So you have to go to Christopher Jacobs' Patreon. It's like $10 a month, and I've got over 20 shows where I've interviewed the different galactic and elemental races.
Awesome. So if that resonates with you, pop over and have a listen. And I'm sort of behind with Viking show, so I listen to it when I'm supposed to type thing. So I do catch up, and it's interesting to see how. Not narrative, that's the wrong word, but the story, like from one show, there's a week and then there's another show, and it's sort of like if you listen to Planet Collingwood, you can see the through thread of like, well, what about this? And then, the next show, we sort of have an answer of like, well, this happened, and, all that type of thing.
I know it's hard to go up against Justified. That's
Yeah. I never knew about that show at all, Justified. It just came into my reality. So I don't know if it's a Mandela effect. It just was.
Excellent. I exhausted that series when it first came out. Really, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's a lesson in storytelling. That's the best way of doing it, because it's like, well, hang on, because it's very hard to. It's not a formula. It's very hard to find where the story's going, but. That's a conversation for another time. I'll finish it and go, but never knew it existed at all, and so it's popped up now.
It's a good series, and I like the lead actor. I think he plays a good lead actor. But I'm not sure. Timothy Oliphant, I think.
Yes.
His name. And he's a great guy, but. I don't know if anything is justified on the show. I'm still trying to work it out.
He shoots a guy in Miami, and because the guy pulled a gun on him, he shot him in self-defense. So he was justified. That's what, because it's only it's only a short story. It's based on, but they got 6 seasons out of it. So
it's Miami Vice
in Eastern Kentucky. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I'm going on to Deadwood because he's in that as well. So, I seem to be reliving my past lives of being in old-time Western United States of America.
Yeah. Have you seen Westworld yet?
Oh, yeah, I've got all that. I find that fascinating. People have got, people that are looking for woke find woke, and it's getting annoying where it's like, but I like the entire series, like the... Season 2 of The Boys is like, they went woke in episode 7. It's a superhero that was born in the 1920s and was part of Hitler's regime, and you think it's a reflection of today. I'm like, oh God.
No, I love The Boys. I think season 2 is great. I thought that, spoiler alert, that Homelander would have killed that woman. That would have been interesting. But
yeah, we'll wait and see. Did everyone see the Zoom? What is it called? Zoom. There's a hashtag now, Zoom wank. A guy was on he's a journalist, and it was a Zoom call with all the employees, and apparently he was that horny he left. He thought he left the actual meeting and got ready to relieve himself energetically. However, he was still in the meeting, so everyone saw what he was about to do.
He's from the New Yorker, this guy. And, he's kind of like a big deal journalist, right?
Jeffrey Toobin, who is yes with the New Yorker, but also is a chief legal analyst at CNN.
Yeah, okay, yeah. 2020. Did anyone see that coming?
No, that side of his career. That's not on his resume today.
Yeah, it's just there's elements of comedy of like, really. I don't pop on Twitter. I'm trying to get off, not get off, not like Mr. Turban there. Yeah,
they call them press for a reason.
Yeah, I'm not engaging with social media as much because not triggering, but I could feel the energy where it's the wide array of different perspectives, and it's just everyone's arguing because like, I'm right, you're wrong, and like, oh really? And I have my own perspective, and like I think last week or the week before, I shared my link to it was either a comedy show I do with Andrew Bartzis or for Planet Collingwood, and someone retweeted it. And this is why I knew I was on the right. You get flack over target. Someone just replied, tweet, "You are an idiot." I'm like, thank you. I didn't engage, and it's like, oh, fair enough. Go for it. It's really what it's like. You're throwing rocks at the moon.
There is a. It's kind of funny, because like we know what their reality is because they're materialists, and that's why we're idiots. But for those of us that know a darn thing about the invisible, we see a much clearer picture of the world, and we can laugh at him because we know that we can see everything that he sees.
Yeah, and it was just like, it wasn't like I'm going to laugh for 25 minutes and cry and fall to the ground. It was like just a chuckle, like, oh, okay, and then moved on with my life because there's no need to. It was like an observation instead of a judgment in that respect. It's still slightly amusing, and due to free will, it's like, well, that's your experience. Good luck with that. I'm going to do something that I like, and that's not engage with it. That's why I'm trying not to engage too much on social media, because I don't know, go in a Twitter war or a Facebook battle, and we're at the point where we've mentioned a couple of times. I think most of the year, people need to wake up by themselves, or they're having their experiences, because certain decisions have been made at the start of the year, and we're seeing it play out in the unseen. Decisions made in the unseen, we're seeing play out on the physical, and so everyone will be saved. However, it's from their perspective and what they're going through, because we're all unique. And which you can, dear listener, you can use that as a compliment or an insult by saying, you're a very unique individual. I use that a lot.
It can also be expressed or explained as creating your own unique timeline, which then you have your manifestation of your vision, or you can be caught up in these old timelines that are just collapsing in on themselves, and each time they collapse, you experience a certain remorse or a certain energetics of fear or judgment. It really is, backing away, as Steve said earlier, and surrendering to your unique expression of life, and being able to find the trust that you can hold a vision that will manifest your optimum timeline.
Yeah, and I've just got an image of Bruce just like basically with all of this stuff going, and goes hugs a tree again, because he's entered his version of heaven on Earth type thing.
He's created a very masterful timeline.
Yeah. If he's
somebody should tell those tomatoes to obey my timeline edits.
Well, there's challenges, yes. However,
Yes.
out of everything, it's like, your life sucks because your tomatoes aren't growing. My chemist was on fire last week, but
However, I'm fully 5D now. I will take it up with the elementals this week.
Hello, I'd like to have a parlay with the tomato god. Jerry, good to see you. Sit down.
Yeah.
You'll have to sacrifice a pepper, though.
Yes, actually, but yeah. But it is funny. I'm living my version of
blasphemes my name.
What I find most different about the life I have here is that everything I do is, except for the specifically making money, which only amounts to about maybe 20 or 40 hours a month, and the rest of my time is my time. And when you get off that schedule and that really tight performance metric, like, alarm clock, brush teeth, get out, commute, first coffee at the office, and blah, 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 everything changes. You begin to enter a world in which it's more connected with your imagination. It's hard to describe. It's just that what ends up occupying your consciousness, because it's not all like 15 minutes scheduled, delimited, the way you think and the way you perceive, everything changes. Everything changes. That's all. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, what day is it? Because it's daytime because the sun's out, or it's nighttime because it's not. And that's one way of measuring time. If it's dark as light, it's dark as light.
Yeah. Yeah. A litter of kittens will just sort of punctuate time a little bit for me. Has it been that long? Is that her second litter?
Yeah. Who cares about that Roman numeral time fake Vatican work schedule? I go by cat births.
Yeah.
Which is kind of good. That's very very old school, and getting back to the land and farming and everything else like that. So it'll be interesting, like, from your perspective, looking at, the Biden scandal and all this type of stuff, where it's like, being a writer as well, it's like, whoever wrote this sucks. The plot's terrible. The characters have nothing. You know what I mean? I could see that. And living with comedians, you would see that comedic edge of, like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah. That Hunter Biden, he's like Marcus Aurelius' son in Gladiator, right? I mean, that's just so fun. That is just that sort of command lineage gone wrong there, 100%. But, like I said it before, and I'll say it again, you got to take 2 steps back and get away from cheering from your side, for your side, and just realize what's going on here. Look at what's being bundled into an election. Hey, you want to live? Vote for me. They're gonna, the Trump vote's becoming an offer we can't refuse, right? I mean, it's weird. It's a weird time, man. Weird time.
Well, it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate slice of because this whole year has been one giant propaganda campaign for the vaccine industry, and as even though the mask thing unfortunately has become like the linchpin to the whole house of cards, because all the leverage is gone, right? In America, it's corporations and some government buildings, and that's it. Otherwise, you're looking at what is largely these free will choices about the mask, because cops are not just stopping somebody in the park, because there's a couple hugging with their faces completely revealed and stuff. Like that's not happening here, thank God, and never was. You've seen like some trespassing arrests, but nothing that's specifically a mask citation. By and large, not happening amongst those who are civil disobedient. And there's a lot of them that are civil disobedient. So the leverage isn't there. The leverage isn't there. The whole idea was to leverage the entire economy on you need to take Bill Gates' needle. And it's not looking like that, even though the principle of a vaccine, the fear of a vaccine mandate, because the mask mandate's corporate, right? So I fear for everybody that's got a corporate job right now, some schmuck working at CVS who thinks I'm an asshole who killed grandma, even though my grandma was asymptomatic.
Yeah.
You know, and he's going to get stuck with the needle, and the needle might kill him. And if you vote if you vote for Trump, you're going to get a needle that kills you or something like that. And if you vote for Biden, you don't have to get the needle, but you got to wear a mask if you don't get the needle. And that's what it feels like is going on.
Did you see that the rapper 50 Cent actually came out and endorsed President Trump?
Yeah, because it was because of the tax laws.
Yeah, I think it was Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro, but it's the joke going around the internet. He realized if Biden get in, he'll be called 32 Cent because of all the taxes. Yeah. He hates blacks, but Biden's taxes are worse. I recently watched a Public Enemy animated video, and the man in the white hood was Donald Trump, and I'm like, really? You still think he's a white supremacist KK operative, even though he's had photos taken with him of Muhammad Ali and Rosa Parks. Now, I'm not sure if you gentlemen know who those people are, but they're kind of popular. And he's a Nazi while his son-in-law and grandchildren are Jewish, and he supports Israel. Like, Donald Trump seems to be the worst racist in history.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. What's interesting to me is the video with him with that Jeffrey Epstein guy.
Well, it has been reported that once Trump found out what he was doing, he threw him out of Ligago or wherever he was, and he cut all ties with him. However, the way that the media works, where they just find anything, is like, oh, he did when he was 6, he spat on the ground. Oh, he hates, like, the whole white supremacist thing. Like, it's like, Brandon, if I can use you, it's like, do you denounce white supremacy? How about now? 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 Like, how many times does he have to say it? Like, oh, he's lying. Oh, come on.
Look, there's a lot of people I trust that really don't like Trump, that don't think that, he wang-doodled with Epstein's friends, right? Like I don't think I've heard of that from the Corbett Report, and the Corbett Report has been sharply critical of the Trump administration. Still calls it like he sees it when it comes to the things that didn't change or changed very, very slowly and suspiciously. Things like that. Corbett Report's been very stalwart about that kind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we had an election over the weekend where New Zealand's Prime Minister Ardern, I think that's her name. She's connected to the Freemasons, but anyway, she had a landslide victory in that, and it's interesting to see where I know there are people that are heading towards if I can use very basic language, Fisher Price language, they're heading towards the light and they want to save humanity. However, if anyone disagrees with them, they just turn into an ogre and just name call them constantly. And like, that's not how you sell it. That's bad customer service. If you want people to come back to your business, you don't insult their grandmother type thing. And it's like, I stay away from those, because I understand that they're frustrated. But if you go into that old way of like, well, if you don't believe that strawberry ice cream's the best, you're a blank, 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 blank. I'm not going to say that on air. If you want to send me an email, I can write out 50 words that are very offensive. But it's like, that's not helping. That's still part of the classic conflict, drama, war frequency that we're breaking down, where it's interesting as we move forward, where, like, I know people say we have to fight this. And it's like, yes. However, it doesn't mean we get the pitchforks and the torches and go and burn someone's house down. and I think Viking understands where I'm coming from. We're fighting by being in that Zen moment, as like Ip Man.
So it's kind of like it's the analogy of the labyrinth and the Minotaur. You know, you can be caught up in this labyrinth that's designed to keep us in chaos, or you can rise above it. You have a choice. You literally have a choice. You want to be stuck in this, stapled in with all your judgments and fears and pain and suffering, or do you want to literally, again, surrender and leave that behind? You have you literally have a choice. We are at the apex of the nexus of our resolution, evolution, however you want to see it, and really, you have to be in control here, or you're going to be out of control.
Yeah, and I hate to tell the radical left this, but the ills of the world aren't just one person's fault. You know what I mean? Like, you get rid of that one person, they're still going to exist. You know?
Yes, especially when that person, President Trump, was created from the 8 years of the Obama-Biden administration. Like, that's like Razor Fist, if you follow him on YouTube. He's pointed out Biden's not going to win because there's a reason that Hillary lost, is the former administration for 8 years created Trump in a certain way. And then you put up, 4 years later, you put up the second guy in charge of the reality that created Donald Trump. Like, how's that going to work out? Even with Hillary, it's like, oh, we'll keep doing what we're doing. And everyone, most people have gone, no. And it's interesting. I just had a thought, like, we're sort of at the point where we're fighting and we're bringing in that universal law of do no harm. This is where I have trouble with people sometimes, because it's like, what do you mean? How can you fight but do no harm? Like, see, so I'm turning into a Zen master. I should go buy a stick and hit people. If you've seen those videos.
It is kind of surprising that, like, they couldn't, like, throw somebody at, like, they could have grabbed who was Obama's Secretary of State, for instance.
Before or after, Hillary with Benghazi.
Susan Rice?
Oh, yeah.
John Kerry afterwards.
There you go. Yeah, John Kerry.
They would have had a better chance if they had put John Kerry.
Not really. His stepson's also on the shit list with Hunter. They've done business together. He was on the Burisma board as well.
Yeah, but here's the thing. John Kerry doesn't seem to be so senile that he can't fit the suit. The problem with Biden is that in the Democrat Party's facade, they can't get Biden to fit the suit. His mind can't handle the fact that reality is not gelling with him trying to follow the CNN, MSNBC narrative. It's because the cognitive dissonance is coming home to roost. And, this is why if you don't know who you're voting for, you ain't black, and things like that, completely rebounded. It's like when a curse rebounds in Magic.
Yeah, did you see, Steve, I think you would have seen this, and you would have chuckled a lot. He was at a rally where, it was like 16 cars and 8 people, figure that one out. Yes. But did you see his auto cue? It was the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
It was that big. Like, anyone that turned around, it's not like, he had the, like how Obama would play tennis during a speech where he'd go from one little plastic plate to the other one. And Trump, sometimes they're there, but who knows if Trump actually follows them, because he's very good at thinking on his feet. But for Biden, it was like right at the back of the field in the crowd, and it was that big that everyone can read it. It was like, it seriously was. If you know Weird Al Yankovic, he has a song called Frank's 2,000-inch TV. It was that big. Like, it's like, I don't want to hear him. I'll just turn around and read his speech.
Because Biden has gone senile, he doesn't have time to memorize his lines in Donald Trump's rhythm. Because Donald Trump, does all these tweets primarily, and everything else just happening on the internet, that by the time he's responding to something, everything's already changed. And you have, like, you have 6 hours to memorize a 15-minute speech, and then you're throwing away that speech in 3 hours, and you have to rewrite it in 3 hours, and there's no memory. So he needs a teleprompter because he's Mr. Script, he's Mr. Suit, and the news cycle is destroying him because he doesn't have the acuity for it. So my point is, John Kerry may be a dope, but at least he's probably as sharp as any of our elderly, not super embarrassing senators.
Yes, a sharp dope. We've just created a term. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I hear it. I see it.
It's the age of cognitive dissonance. Come on. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like at least his horse hockey would all make sense. And yet, if you need to, it's Reagan times 10. Like even Reagan had coherent thoughts up until he died, type thing.
He didn't run the worst campaign in 2004. You know what I mean? I mean, like if I had to help the bad guy, that's what I would have like. Dude, just grab John Kerry. We get it. You killed a bunch of people, and you're trying to cover up your crimes against humanity. Your Secretary of State's the only office that makes enough sense to throw in there, unless you really think that AG Holder is going to be a great presidential candidate or something.
No,
it's the guy from your administration, whether you like it or not. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I like Holder's nickname it turned into Withholder. Because of all the Fast and Furious and everything else like that. Yeah, we're coming up to the break, and that's right. Yeah, well, in the next hour, we'll probably talk about the schmozzle, which is a very old. Good night, Bruce. Thank you for being here, and sleep well, my friend. The third presidential debate, which is the second part of a trilogy, because the second one was cancelled. Makes perfect sense. Welcome to politics. I'm sorry, what?
It's fiction. The second one comes at the end.
Yeah, the great John Z would say, first get all the underpants, phase 2 something, phase 3 we get all the money. Phase 2 just disappeared. But they've dropped the foreign policy. They can't talk about it. There's mute buttons, and I think that's in about a day and a half. So I'm umming and ahhing of should I watch it for research for the show, or just watch, say, Razorfist or Stephen Crowder do a watch along. But with those guys, because they're sort of yelling at the screen, telling jokes, you miss half the stuff. So yeah. So
there you go, Monty. I'll tell you what. There you go again.
Well, Nancy and I have no recollection. Yes, so it is.
He was doing the astrology with Bruce Springsteen.
I
love that ET. I'll tell you what.
The Bruce Springsteen has threatened to move to Australia, and half Australia's like, no, don't. We're in lockdown. You can't have any shows, and it's getting ridiculous compared to 2016, the sequel, where if this happens, we're doing this. It's like, why didn't you said that 4 years ago? Why haven't you done it now? Unfortunately, I saw the video of Amy Schumer losing her mind. I didn't listen to it because that's an energy I don't need. But if you've been on Twitter, you would have seen, and probably other social media, people have actually collected all these people from the left who slightly unhinged, screaming and yelling at the screen. And I think we just need 3 more, and we've got the Brady Bunch set up. One unfortunate woman was screaming at Ruth Bader Ginsburg because she died. She was angry that she died because, of course, when organizing your death, you actually plan it around political movements. Anyway, we're at the halfway point. This is Planet Collingwood. My name's Monty Dean. I have been joined by lovely people. That's including the audience. There, I said it. Just stick around after these messages, and we'll be back for more chuckles and just sighing, really. You're on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And we're back. I've relieved liquid. I saw my cat, and then I've just sat down. Sharing too much, I think. You're on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener supported, 100% volunteer. So if you enjoyed the last hour, please donate what you can to the station at freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio. It helps us pay the bills so we can stay on global internet for everyone listening. Raise of hands if you're out of town. Hey, just remembering the old mighty Olive. We'll meet again, my friend. As well as once you're at the website, you can buy some merchandise to help the station, be caps, T-shirts, onesies for the little ones. You can donate anything you can within reason. We don't accept children. The last time. And then pop into the chat room, hang out with awesome people as well, which I have my eye on you, my friends. I see what you're talking about. Like the name George Carlin has been referenced. Lovely man. Kind of miss him. And as well as Bill Hicks, they would have a field day. Can you imagine Bill Hicks with a podcast, as Joe Rogan suggested? Oh my. Now, one thing to kick off the conversation, if you'd like to join us, Monty_Dean on Skype or Freedom Screen on Skype. And if you're on my contacts, just message me and I'll add you to the call and join the fun. I did see on Tracebook, Chris Geo, who is from Beyond the Veil. Very interesting show, if it resonates with you. Apparently BLM means something else now. So Chris, if you hear this, thank you very much, sir. But BLM actually stands for Biden Likes Minors, which, yeah. Like, well, yeah, because we've seen it at all the press conferences where he goes sniffing.
My mind was distracted for just a heartbeat. Did you say that he was on your show?
No. If he listens, I was watching. I saw on his page. He shared a lovely meme that BLM stands for Biden Likes Minors.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I have interviewed him for my podcast, which I should dust off and try and. I'm trying to do that, but the energies of everything going on, and yeah, my event in my timeline is 2 weeks. Let's get past the election, and then the next one will be let's get past the result of the election, because it's like, oh wow, I am doing very quickly. I am doing a special comedy show with Andrew Bartzes on the 30th of October, where it'll be a Halloween Beltane election special. Nice. So we'll just laugh at everything, really. So
that's scary, yeah.
Did you say? Oh, you're free. It's Beltane. For us, it's Samhain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because Beltane's
All Saints Day.
Well, no, he's doing that English accent again, Harry. I'm not sure we like that. Brandon, did you see on Twitter there was a young drama student, and she's brilliant at it. She was asked to do like a minute-long dramatic piece. However, she used Dr. Evil's dialogue from when he's in the like AA group. And she pulled it. No one recognized it was a comedy thing because she just picked it. She just did it so well. My father had a punchions to beat me with a whip, and like, if you've seen it, it's like it's so well done, and it's been shared around because it's like her acting is very good, and it's. I think that may be a new trend for videos of you find comedic monologues and you just do them in a dramatic sense.
Yeah. Oh, I have to see that. That sounds really funny. Hey, what are you guys' favorite, just to turn the topic for a second, favorite Halloweeny books, stories, any recommendation, music, television, movies? Go ahead.
We don't really have it. It's Halloween's only really turned up in the last 20 to 30 years in Australia. Yeah. Because it's like, I'm not going outside. It's bloody October. Why don't I walk around and get bloody lollies for? But because it's it sort of shows the power of entertainment from the United States, which is where sort of Hollywood thinks it's important because, like, I'm the center of attention and I earn all this money. It's like, yeah, whatever. Especially now in lockdown, you can see they're craving for attention because they're not on red carpets or anything else like that. So from I'm more suspense than horror because, like, the gore and everything else like that. Like, I think my past lives were like, yeah, we've seen this in real life. We don't need to go through that again. But I did like back in the day. Did like Nightmare on Elm Street. If the story's really good. And it kind of makes sense. Like even like Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which comes across as a comedy, which kind of makes sense because you can't really make the same thing over and over again.
I love it.
If the story's good, Hellraiser I find interesting. Sorry,
First 3 Hellraisers. The others are the others. They fell apart from source material.
Oh yeah, like Hellraiser 4. We're in space. Good luck with that. And the Saw franchise, but without all the gruesome crap. Like if you cut that all out, it's a brilliant story. So I need to find that edit where it's like this man dies from this. Like, I don't need to see. Yeah, he dies. Let's move on. That could be for me. It's off screen. I don't need to see that, but I can understand what the appeal was. Like
So-
I bet you could find some like bootleg, like Christian edit version of
be a fan edit. Yeah,
Christians, and you'll be fine.
So
Viking.
So one of the movies that disturbed me the most was Omen.
Ooh, good
That
one.
totally twisted my head, man. That was like, okay, that was with me for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Omen trilogy is cool. I liked all 3 of them. I thought the second one was really. The second one is crazy because Damon's like normal for most of the film, and then he goes bad at the end. Oh, it's so good.
How about that one with Bruce Willis? He's a psychiatrist, and he's got that kid.
Yeah, Sixth Sense.
But what?
It's called the Sixth Sense.
Oh my God, that was another one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and that's was it Shambhala who?
Shyamalan and Ding Dong.
Yeah, that's the chap. That's sort of where he got his credo. And then he made 4 movies that sucked. But anyway, that was a genuine twist in the entertainment industry where it came out. It's like, oh wow, as you heard Viking's response to it. I've seen a meme recently. The man that found out he died and still went to work.
I'm in the cult of Sam Raimi, so the Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, movies plus the Evil Dead 3-season TV series, 30 episodes.
Well, I haven't watched that, but
it's really
Now, if I was to go straight horror, I like the Grindstones vampire movies down south of the border. I forget what it's called, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Dusk Till Dawn because anything that sort of has an element.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, elements of humor to it. That's why the Evil Dead stuff. Like the first one's just basically a horror, and then I think from then on, it brought in a comedic element to it, and it works. This is my boomstick.
It went very Three Stooges with demons, which is great. It's the best thing. Because demons are all like funny. They're all sadists, and it's like that's the thing. The characters of the demons are all extremely cool. They have lots of attitude. They have great lines in his things, and so Ash gets to kill one, and instead of having recurring villains, it's just a new cool, crazy left field demon from ancient Babylon.
No.
And it's a really interesting way of looking at Lovecraftian occultism as well in respects. And I also have a big I also relate because one of the episodes Ash goes on an ayahuasca journey and he's got a pet bearded dragon.
Ooh.
So if you want to go classic, let's talk about Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho and the Birds, man.
Oh yeah.
Those are. I mean, that Psycho. I mean, that shower scene terrorized women for decades. I mean, even to this day, people are phobic about taking a shower.
Did anyone go swimming after they saw Jaws on the call?
That was another one. I body surf, and that was a big one for me. That every time I'm out there, I think about Jaws.
Yeah, because when that was released, I think it was a summer movie. When people at beaches dropped 80% because of that movie. Like, I'm not going out there. I've seen the movie.
My dad is one of those guys. My dad's got two like super phobias: needles and beaches because of Jaws.
Yeah, it's interesting the way that Jaws is made. If you're into this type of thing of like, you watch the bonus features on DVDs, Blu-rays, there is a documentary, Does the Shark Still Work? Because that was one of the problems with Jaws. And the reason why there's so much tension and suspense is that Spielberg didn't want to show the shark too much because it looked crap and didn't work. And so you only see fleeting bits. And so by removing the character from the vision until it's right near the end where you can go, oh, that looks terrible, and then it blows up. That's the reason. It was one of those serendipity, synchronistic type of things of, we have to salvage something out of it, and that type of movie came out. Alien, if you like Alien, it's worth looking into the making of that type of stuff where Tony Scott, over a summer holiday, because he draws. He recommends everyone draw. Get a pencil and learn to draw, because he was given a $4 million budget for Alien. He went away to Spain or something for 2 weeks and drew up the storyboards and went back to the studio and said, I'm going to do this. And they doubled his budget to $8 million back in 1978. Wow. Yeah. And also part of that as well is you can tell it's a man in a suit. That's why you only see the alien basically at the end of the film, because you go, that's a man in a suit. However, only if you see that scene. If you watch the entire film, you see parts of it and you see people die, and it just builds up the suspense and the belief. And when you see,
incredible.
Yeah, the knowledge of that's a man in a suit. The brain goes, that's a man in the suit, and the heart goes, shut up, I'm freaking out.
Yeah, right. In Aliens, they only had, I think, 6 alien suits for that film. So whatever it is, so they recycled every single alien for every single scene.
Yeah, because that was the idea. It's instead of one, let's put them down on a whole planet of them. And that's a franchise that unfortunately sucks now, because the first one, Prometheus. Yeah, how Charlize Theron, or whatever her name is, dies when the ship rolls over. Just do it. Turn left 90 degrees, woman. Don't run the same way.
They did a bunch of stupid things in their storytelling to make the setup film fit and all that. But as far as looking at the whole origin of going from the prime source material for the aliens, and then watching the engineering process with this goo.
Yes. I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to say the next film, Covenant. It was really the conspiracy mind kicked in, because he created Prometheus, and it's the founders or the engineers, where you see at the start of the film, one of this guy takes his black goo and disintegrates, and his DNA spreads out at the entire planet. And because it's not expressed in the film, you have to go to something else to go, he's the progenitors. He's the progenitor of life on Earth. And it was all this fascinating thing, and people looking into it. Like Brandon may have, and it's like, what secrets have been revealed? And between films, Tony Scott's brother dies, and then in the next film, it's only 5 minutes where the android comes down and kills them all, and we'll never speak of them again. Like, really? It was such a letdown from a storytelling point of view. It's like, they were just normal, and then the android turned up with smallpox on the blankets, and they all died. Yay! So
I'm a big fan of that Garfield Halloween episode. The Garfield cartoon. Very, very, very spooky.
I haven't seen it. I do know that apparently
Garfield gets turned into like a dog in a weird science experiment.
Yes.
I haven't seen that one in a long time, but my memory of that as a scene, yeah, when you're a little kid, like that's like hitting that is like hardcore. That's like being like 5 and watching like Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, like which is another like just like brilliant, like mature yet appropriate for children, like that balance that we used to have for adult themes for children that we used to have like in the 80s and stuff.
It was referred to as family, which means like Aladdin, the first movie with Ron Williams. My brother and I were only born 20 months apart, and so we're mid-teenage. And we were laughing at the kids' jokes as well as the adults' jokes. And the rest of the cinema, all the kids would laugh at one thing, and then 3 minutes later, the adults would laugh. So you could hear the crowd sort of going, ha, 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 ha. Meanwhile, we're laughing all the way through because we're in that the tipping point type thing. That's kind of what is...
Roger Rabbit was exactly like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about what's sort of what now is where when people say the Star Wars sucks, but it's made for kids. It's like, well, it's aimed at the 12-year-old, but it's supposed to be for the inner child, so you can still... that's why we're talking about it 40 years later, or 43 years later.
Guys, that I found out who Judge Doom was?
No.
Yeah, I figured it out. You have to look at all the clues in the film. It's well peppered in to bring it all together, because the movie is very it's so clever. So when does the movie take place? Right after World War II. What was the issue with the American film industry, animation industry's economy, is that they were just released from all of their contracts to make wartime propaganda films. Judge Doom was one of these villains that was animated to demonize Nazis. This is why he wants the dip. This is why Judge Doom works with the dip.
Interesting.
Because he's gassing the animations. He's gassing the creations of the Hollywood filmmakers, whom would not be his favorite tribe of people, shall we say, which is why he grabs that shoe and you watch him murder a cartoon in front of children on the screen, right? Yeah. And what does that shoe look like? He's got a face with eyes up by where the ankles go, and then his mouth is all the way down at the bottom where the toes are. So the implied is that it's his nose. He's got a big nose. So you're watching a Nazi cartoon gassing a Jewish cartoon in front of children. This is what Disney did.
No. Yeah, interesting enough.
Out of work Nazi tune.
So you don't hear that every day, ladies and gentlemen. An out of work Nazi tune. I love that sentence. So that should go on a T-shirt.
That was the secret. That is framed Roger Rabbit.
Another one as well. It is. It sort of. It uses a conspiracy theory that became true, which was that Los Angeles had public transport, where it was the trolley car or the trams, and they were all bought up by the oil companies because they were building freeways, which is sort of that's the plot of it, where they want to get rid of Toontown so they can build the I-55 or whatever to go through. That actually happened in the 40s after World War II. They realized that everyone could have a car, and so they got rid of all rail transport as well.
Standard Oil.
Yeah, Standard Oil. And so you're watching it now, and you're going, wow, they used a conspiracy fact, which actually happened, 60, 80 years ago. And that's what actually did happen. They brought it up to get rid of public transport, force everyone into cars, and anyone that's driven in LA this century knows how freaking terrible it is, where 22-lane highway and you're hitting about 10 miles an hour if you're lucky. I know most of this stuff from Joe Rogan because I don't know where he lives. I don't know where he lives. Well, when he lived in LA because he's moved to Texas, but he would to get to the comedy club that Mitzi, the famous comedy club. The Comedy Store. Yes,
Sure.
Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store. Yeah. He would to get there on time, he would drive for 8 hours in Los Angeles. He would leave at 11 in the morning so he could actually get to the store just before the show would start. That's how insane the traffic is in Los Angeles.
Yeesh.
Yeah, it is pretty insane. That's for sure. I think Rogan lived up in Topanga.
Oh, okay. But he's moved to Austin now, so.
He's in Austin now.
This really perpetuates the myth that there are jobs in California.
Well, yeah, it is. That's true, Steve, because everyone's leaving it. Joe Rogan's gone. Ben Shapiro's gone.
I stick in traffic.
Yeah, Dave Rubin's thinking about it because he's been there for a long time. From the YouTube entertainment world, Nerdrotic has left.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk as well. But he did it in a fantastic way of we're moving to Texas, you suck. And I think that was the actual tweet.
And by the way, one of the key elements that backs up my theory is if you go back to the original scene where they go to R.K. Maroon's studio, the suspicious rival, hanging up on the wall were some of the posters of some of the World War II propaganda films that they had up there. For all we know, one of those characters is what Judge Doom actually looks like.
Oh, yeah. So I've decided I'm going to call this YouTube video, when I put it up, The World Has Gone Silly, so we're just going to talk about everything else that's silly. And why not? Because if you've been following this show for all year, it's been ramping up and we're just repeating ourselves, and we probably 3% get new information and move forward. And we're 2 weeks out from the election. I'm glad we sort of haven't gone heavy into the politics for 2 hours, because really we're in the closing overs, or in the last turn, the last lap type thing, and it's just going to go insane. Like the release of Biden, and then there's information about Hillary, and all the political parties are doing their last thing. I saw that Hillary Clinton said in 2 weeks' time we'll call Kamala Harris the very first POC vice president, and of course there's a litany of underneath, because I did like when Mrs. Clinton said to Joe Biden, don't accept the outcome. It's like, well, you haven't, so how's that working out for you? Truth bombs, bam.
Not a fan of either any politician. I think they all have our worst interests at heart. And this whole thing where we're supposed to think Donald Trump is some sort of light worker, outside perspective person. I don't buy that either. And ironically, Hunter Biden is not a hunter. The real hunter is Donald Trump Jr.
And what I actually, to add to that, however, for the story, Trump is the one to be placed there. That's
a sole contract. He's not necessarily a light worker, but his sole contract is to expose and to illuminate this deep state narrative. He's not a light worker, but he is on contract as a some kind of just spearhead.
Yeah, and Brandon, it could be it could come down. Sorry, Steve, give me a mo. It could be multiple ways. The analogy now, I'm not saying Donald Trump is this, but I'm using the analogy for Brandon. It's saying that Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one to bring balance to the Force, and we know how that went. However, right at the end, he did. And this is the George Lucas timeline, not the Disney timeline. Because I don't think Trump will turn into Darth Vader. I just want to preface that. Like, he's not Darth Vader. However, if one scenario, which I highly doubt, I don't see the energy for it, and I'm sure Viking will back me up, is if Trump loses, he'll just go, all right, and release all this stuff. And even if he another variation of that is that Biden and co, all right, let's arrest Donald Trump. And he's like, fine, and then he starts talking about he'll be a story pitch. You know what I mean? We don't know exactly. He's part of the narrative to move forward in the graduation timeline. No idea how that's going to play out, though. So I'm glad he didn't turn into Darth Vader.
This whole Biden laptop, Giuliani today said tomorrow there's going to be 2 major releases or revelations around this. I mean, there is a perspective here where he might withdraw, or during the 3rd debate, he can have an aneurysm, or his brain could have a blood clot. I mean, he's at the point where he's so fragile in his health that Trump just really did his, I look at it as a boxing ring. If he just did get an Ali, man, and just kind of just pummeled him, he probably would explode. I mean, he's right on the edge.
He's going to have a severe oxygen deficiency because he's double masking. You can, there's plenty of clear shots of 2 ear loops. He's double masking.
Did you see that? Sorry. Steve, did you see that he removed the mask to cough into his hand and then put the mask back up?
I know.
I really think we should give the nuclear football to this gentleman. Everyone should wear a mask. Oh, hang on. I'll cough into my hand and then handshake everybody.
I got into a little argument with my car that also earned me a 6-hour suspension on Lyft, where I'm not wearing my mask. She gets in the car, and she asks if she can smoke a cigarette. And I'm like, yeah, sure. It's okay. And then she asks me about the mask. I tell her about my personal medical condition. She doesn't believe me, and then has a conniption fit. And I'm just like, but you took off your mask to smoke a cigarette. We wear the mask because we believe it's an airborne contagion. Is that correct? And she believes that her cigarette smoking doesn't contract the COVID. Some hack in medicine told her that, and so she smokes cigarettes.
So she's upset that you may spread a virus to you. However, she's completely fine of giving you secondary smoke, which may cause cancer.
Right.
Nice balance there. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Plus, she's taking direct smoke that prolonged will cause cancer, and that and it's just like, oh, okay, I'm the one making you more susceptible to a respiratory disease. Got it.
Yeah. The thing about masks is, just give me a moment, I'll pass the stick to Viking. The thing I find about masks is, once you put the mask on, it's fine until you touch it. Once you touch it, you have to get a new one. And everyone's touching and moving around. I mean, even I do it, but whatever. I don't have it. I don't want to get a $200 fine.
You're talking in it, meaning your jaw is moving, which pushes it around, and then it dislodges it from the bridge of your nose.
Yeah, that's so. Viking, go ahead, sir.
Well, the second scenario is because of this recent revelation of the laptop, is that when they come out with this alleged, all of these pictures of him snorting coke on underage girls' butts, and this crack, sleep with a crack pipe, and is on and on about how his dad has been, receiving 10%. It could get so bad that Kamala Harris actually withdraws from the race. I mean, we're in uncharted territories of just absolutely insane speculations and what could happen. I mean, the timelines are all across the board, unlike anything we've ever seen.
And that's sort of where, there's we were sort of saw the confusion coming, and I think most people listening and watching YouTube and like the cut of my jib. We're withdrawing into our center point, and it's like just letting that go. We're just going with the flow and not holding on to the rock of confusion and just all that crazy stuff. Like whatever's going to happen is going to happen in a divine manner. It'll probably freak us out because that prime creator, he's a bit wacky, or it or she or however you want. Odin playing funny buggers, whatever. What language you want to use, and that's like I've tried to interject the political stuff, and everyone's like, in this conversation. So that sort of just proves where, everyone is basically over it. And like last week, we're asking for time machines so we can just go ahead 3 weeks and get to it. Because is there a scale from silly, stupid, ridiculous to nonsense to, let's invent another word of please stop? You know what I mean? It's just I guess from a personal thing, it's just let it go. Surrender that. Yeah.
Just be comforted in knowing that the gods are not above the fates.
It's just another episode of Twilight Zone into the bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, written by a chimpanzee that's high on crack. You know what I mean? Like, who wrote this story? It's terrible. But it's from a spiritual point of view, it's fascinating to be here. And I understand the whole thing of like, this will never happen again. And I'm like in the middle of it going, yeah, you're right. We're not going through this again. Like, oh, I've got an idea.
You know what
no,
Twilight Zone I love?
Go ahead, Brandon.
I love that Twilight Zone where the guy, he's got all these books to read. And then he goes to read these books. He's like, oh, goody, I got all these books, all the time in the world to read these books. And he can't read, and his glasses are broken.
Yeah, I've seen the Simpson one. It was Simpson or Futurama where, I broke my glasses, then his eyes fall out, then his arms fall off. I can still learn Braille, and it's just he disintegrates. But yeah, I haven't seen. I've seen
Poor
I Am
guy
Legend.
just wanted to read. You know what I mean? Come
Oh
on.
yeah. I like. Oh, my eyes! I can still learn Braille, and then his arms fall off. Oh, come on! I've seen I Am Legend, where for those music fans, Mike Patton from Faith No More and Mr. Bungle, and the 57, the 57 other bands that he's in, he does the screeching and howling of the infected. But I haven't seen Omega Man with Charlton Heston. I haven't seen
Mike Patton does the infected screaming and howling.
Oh yeah, when you watch it, you'll sit there and go, "Oh, he's very good." Instead of going, "Oh, that's a nice sentence." Like, yeah, even
what is this? Is this the name of a show?
No, I Am Legend. The zombies, the infected, and I Am Legend.
Oh, okay. He does the zombies in the video game series Left 4 Dead also.
Yeah, and
one of them is called The Smoker, because it has this hacking cough, like it was like a chronic smoker before he became a zombie, and so that's Mike Patton, like doing all these really gargly, like it's really freaking cool.
Corey Taylor from Slipknot, Stone Sour, and all the 57 other bands he's in. He actually did the voice of the Fisher King in a Doctor Who episode from season 10 with Peter Capaldi, because he was a massive Doctor Who fan. And when they were making the episode, Slipknot was playing Wales, and he was invited to do screaming and all that type of stuff, as well as geek out on the TARDIS set and all that type of stuff. So yeah, if you look in the credits, it's voice of or screams of the Fisher King, Corey Taylor.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think everyone over 50 is probably gone, what the hell are they talking about? So,
yeah.
Well, damn it, like your children should be listening.
Yeah. Yes, to quote Marty McFly, yeah, maybe you're not ready for that, but your kids will love it. And good news as well, because the makers of Back to the Future are still alive, there will never be a Back to the Future 4. Because I think the producer, I can't remember his name exactly, I do apologize. Yes, I think it was the makers or the other one. One of them actually said, we're not going to make it. We want the original ones. Michael J. Fox would have to play Marty McFly. We're not going to put our kids into prostitution. Like, ooh, take that, Hollywood. Bam. So, unfortunately, if they all die, then hopefully we're in a better world where they will come up with new ideas instead of just regurgitating the same ones over and over again. Because, there's a new Batman film. Do I need to see Bruce Wayne's parents get killed again? Go ahead, Steve.
We still need an excuse. We still need an excuse for how that their film imprinted 9/11 in the Trump presidency. I still need an answer about that from them.
COVID-19, the gift that keeps on giving. Lockdown, the gift that sucks. But anyway, because entertainment industry sort of paused, I haven't heard for at least 8 months, our new show will sort of share what's happening in the real world with Trumpism and all this type of stuff. We're like, what reality? I know you're a pretender in a reality, but really, you as Brandon mentioned earlier, like taking out Trump the world, it's not like, Jesus comes back and the whole world's changed. It's not the opposite of Trump's obviously the Antichrist and we'll remove him. And then there's a million years of a world with no lawyers from The Simpsons. If you remember, oh, that's chilling. If you remember that scene, it's ridiculous where it's blame, shame and guilt, which is part of the old system. Where I don't like Trump as a human being or a personality. It's like, well, don't go to dinner with him. Oh, but if we vote him out, our world will be perfect. No, not at all.
No.
Well, you still got Black Lives Matter, and it's interesting where if you point out the organization is a Marxist terrorist group, so you can't say I'm against Black Lives Matter because people think that you're a racist because you don't think Black Lives Matter. Well, all human lives matter. Because you notice that thing like all lives matter. It's like, oh, you're being racist and blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Strangely enough, police brutality isn't just a black man's problem. There are, Hispanics, Asians, Caucasian.
My simple answer to that is just to nip the whole cognitive issue in the butt. So, like, that organization is specifically named to gaslight. And I am an equalitist. Don't make me speak of such things.
Yeah, it's this, like the whole defund the police. No, reform the police. Like, maybe get them to learn an ancient Chinese martial art where you're there to diffuse, not kill. Ideas like that. Yeah, but
the police have to live in the community. Like, you have to go home and face the neighbors that you police every single day.
That's right.
You have to be family. You have to be tribe. Okay? You have to be there. It's not a race thing. It's like you go to Harlem. It's not whether you're white or black. It's are you Harlem? Okay? That's all that it is. When I look and I see all of these horrifying low criminal offenses because they just agree to do as the as the state like prioritizes, I'm just like, I do not see you saying, no, this is not how I treat my own citizens. That whole stand up and say, well, then you better fire me because you ain't gonna you ain't gonna be able to replace me. That like something like that has to happen. They can't just like too many, because look, cops, they're following orders. They're following orders, and that's scary enough because we always put that in the context of Nazis. And that's true in some situations. But at the same time, you have to look, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of connection that has to be made between these forces because it's the othering. That's why people don't like the government. It makes others out of those that are, meant to have your best interest at heart. And it makes such weird criminalities over, the overinflation of culture that we don't quite understand.
Oh, yeah. It's when people say, there's bad cops. Yeah, if there's one bad cop, what about the 99 good cops that do nothing? Well, yeah, okay. Well, it's more nuanced than that. You could actually get to the point of, like, who pays these cops? Well, the taxpayer is, so it's your fault. Yeah, let's follow your logic here then, my friend. And then the next step would be taxation is theft, and you can see where I'm coming from, where I know too much, and I'm just trying to figure out stuff. I'm just going to cuddle my cat for the next 2 weeks. Everyone, remember why we're here and enjoy things.
I wouldn't even interface with a grocery store like this year if I didn't have to get like fresh greens for the iguana that I picked up before the plague activated.
Yeah, I usually go into a supermarket, as we call them. I think they're called supermarkets there as well. And I think it's probably only the one thing that Australia, because every other, like a thong means something completely different in the United States than it does here in Australia.
Supermarket.
Well, yeah, a mega market, yeah, because a thong goes on your foot here in Australia. why you have a footwear around your groin, I have no idea. Anyway, I used to listen to music because this song music sucks, and so I do like having those white earbuds and with the cord, because it's like, I just listen to music. So nature has a way of saying stay away from me, and that's one of them. Yeah. Where I talk to the cashier, obviously, because I need to leave the store with the stuff legally. But that's about it. I've had, apart from everyone wearing a mask in my world, we don't know that there's a plague or a lockdown. It's just the mask, basically. Right. If you ignore the media and the screaming and the politicians and, do you want me to open up that can of worms about the Premier of Victoria, where he's done great and I stand with Dan's? Yeah, but we have a second wave because his government failed the hotel quarantine back in May. That's where the second wave came from, because someone who was infected got out. And so he's playing catch up. And I think there's 900 deaths in Australia, and 800 of them are from Victoria.
At the end of the day, they're just ultimately rationalizing that the reason why the numbers are as low as they are is because of all of the social distancing efforts, right? This is quintessentially important, because in the look at the vice presidential debate, Pence answered this the correct way. Based on where we're at, Kamala Harris insulted the Trump administration's strategy for lockdown, how much they put emphasis on the mask in particular, that we shouldn't have reopened certain things or whatever. And then Pence said, you're insulting the sacrifice of the American people. You're saying that everything that we gave up was in vain. Okay?
Yeah.
And that right there, if that didn't make any sense to anybody, but I guarantee you that it did, because, we're continuing in the direction of opening up in this country. We're not having the problems you guys are having. In fact, the official argument to the administration right now is these crippling lockdowns never made your situation any better than ours, and you're having your second wave now.
Yeah,
and that's a rock solid argument, and that's why America is now literally the freest country that went through the conspiracy.
Yeah, I saw footage that people are going to sue European governments. I think they're in Holland or Amsterdam. It's the same country. The Dutch. Yeah, pick a label, people. Anyway, where there's this pushback from medical doctors and lawyers, and how the way that governments have gone through, where no New World Order model, whack, and how many people have died, like suicides through the roof, businesses have collapsed, everything else like that. As well as one thing that sort of sticks out for me is people are blaming Trump for 200,000 people dying. I didn't go to civics class in the United States, and even I know there's a difference between state and federal, because I don't remember. Yeah, and as well as Trump was. I'm not defending Trump. I'm just pointing out facts, ladies and gentlemen. Observing Trump was in the middle of an impeachment because he made a phone call. He got accused of what Joe Biden did. At the same time, he was trying to get a lockdown from people from Europe and China to not come into the United States and spread it around. And then the state governments, did their own thing, because I think that's how it's designed, where federal is the outside and the states deal with the inside. And they blame Trump for 200,000 dying, and the estimates was 2 million. We'll open up that can of worms later on in the next show, because it was from one model from England, and they downsized it about a month later, and everyone ignored the downsizing. It's exactly the same thing. Then the same people that say that Trump did a bad thing and killed 200,000 people are upset that he's allowing the riots and everything in Portland to go ahead. And it's once again, it's that federal state thing. The feds can't go in until they're invited, from my understanding. See, this is the wonderful thing about Revolution Radio. I'm more American now than I am Australian. Like, gentlemen, do you know what the capital city of Australia is?
Victoria.
No, that's a state.
I mean, Sydney.
No. Steve?
I was about to say, it's not Sydney. I think Sydney's just the major economic center.
Sydney's the first. That's where
Melbourne.
No. There was an argument over Melbourne and Sydney, and that's how Canberra became.
It's like
Canberra.
It's like the only thing I can ever think of is Sydney, because Sydney's got the only piece of architecture that Americans ever think about, and that's your amphitheater.
It's an opera house, but thank you. But I know what you mean. Yeah,
architecture. It's like in my mind, there are no like skyscrapers in Australia. You've got like mid-sized cities, and then there's a bunch of the bushy outback, and a bunch of people surfing all day. And
yep,
cool.
Before Billy Connolly came to Australia, he always heard about the bush in Australia. He thought there was one bush in a desert with 10,000 Aboriginals standing behind it. It's like, no, there's not one. It's like 80% of the landmass.
Right.
But that's just how things are marketed and everything else like that. Because Sydney sells itself with the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, but it's I think it's the same size as Los Angeles, but has a tenth. Or maybe half. I'm not sure if Los Angeles has got 20 million, Sydney may have 2, 3, maybe 5. It's a quarter or something like that. The population of Australia could move into London or LA.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny when racists say here we're full of what? Space? Moron. We're under 25 million people and the same as the continental United States. Not the freak states, Alaska and Hawaii. That's a Simpsons quote. I'm not actually dissing those states, but just the California. Yeah, from California, it's west coast to east coast, same landmass, but you have the population of LA.
Incredible.
Well, we're about 303 million in the USA.
Yeah, which is kind of. Yeah. Like we were talking, Hijacker and I were talking, I think last week, just the population of Russia, where it's 140 million people, which is roughly, say, a third to a half of the US population, but it's a third of Asia, and Asia's the biggest landmass on Earth.
Right.
So they've got space as well. I just never understand. I'm against this. We're overpopulated. No, we're under very, very bad management.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's because they put forward that there's too many of us. Yeah, because you're an evil git in a robe praising an owl, and you want to control everybody. And that's the other thing as well. It's it's the end of days. Yeah, for the cabal, not for humanity.
Right.
We have to save this planet. No, kind of we don't. Society has to evolve out of prison. This energy, this energy farm where humanity can become as one. That's going to take a while, everybody. Because people argue over which Darren was the best in Bewitched, the first one, or both called Dick, strangely enough. And humanity's got to come together, and then we enter back into the Galactic Forum. And my perspective of the alien, if the aliens turn up, is like, awesome, you're here, right? Go out to Pluto for 12 months. One rotation of the sun of the planet. We have to figure out our own agenda.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
That's going to take a while, everyone.
One of the most important things, though, about like when the aliens show up, right, is like what's going to be resented by people is if we jump comically to seriously that very thing you just expressed, right? If we don't take the steps where we earn the trust, it won't work because. It's not about everybody getting to our threshold of understanding beforehand. It's that when the time comes, you can win the argument before the decision is to be made. We're going through that right now in 2020, right? From the second they held the economy hostage over the time between beginning of vaccine development till a vaccine can be announced, and are you going to listen to Dr. Fauci? Are you going to listen to an independent person of medicine? Are you going to listen to nobody and just make your own choices without even considering the science because you just don't care? Like, whatever. The 20 million places that you're going to be, right? We have to use that time to demonstrate and where the trust belongs, because that's what this has been about. Which doctors do you trust? Which procedure of wellness do you want to accept? And how much of a sacrifice is it worth in the meantime?
Yeah, and with the polarization, where we're sort of at a point where half the people get it, the other half don't. We're kind of in a spot where they won't. They may find out later if something monumental or divine happens. But there are people that's like, there's still a deadly disease out there, and the people in the white coats know what they're doing. And yet we're sort of on the other we're not on the other side, but we're away from them going, well, if you listen to these other guys in the white coats that aren't funded by the corporations, they're saying something slightly different, where even if there is a deadly disease, there's treatments for it and there's better ways of doing it. And locking down the healthy and causing economic collapse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, violent abuse, and self-harming, all this, suicide as well, all the not the benefits, what's the word I'm looking for? All the other stuff during lockdown, does it weigh out like, but we didn't all die from COVID. Yeah, but my son died because he lost his business and committed suicide and moved forward. What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? It's they were given a narrative in February or March, and they're trying to stick with it still today, and it's full of holes and tattered, and it doesn't work.
And we have the benefit of statistics.
We've got facts.
We have 7 months of data that we have an emotional connection to. One person can choose emotionally to look at 220,000 deaths as the Holocaust, and the other one can turn around and give a rational argument saying that this is significantly less than promised and not even out of irregularity. This is just like every other year that we've tragically lost people because we don't have perfect medicine, and our society has to compete with the rest of the world. Yeah. Right? There's a whole world at play. There's neighborhoods at play. There's people's needs to survive. It's the fact that we didn't shut it down even worse is the fact that we still have a civilization to argue about this with.
I think it was the Daily Mail, which I believe is out of the United Kingdom. They were talking about the other problems from lockdown, where cancer patients and everyone else, like all the stuff the medical system sort of kind of ignored, and that someone finally reported on the results of the lockdown. There we go. All right, we're at the end of the show. So, Viking, would you like to give out your time and place for your show?
No.
All right. Well, never mind. Thanks for coming on, Viking. All right.
I refuse. No, it's on Fridays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Studio A. It's called the Galactic Interstellar Council, down the rabbit hole galactic perspective. We're in times unlike any other that we've ever experienced, and I'm interested to see how your show next week plays out.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Steve, where can people find you? Because you've been broadcasting on D Live, so I'm going to we're all multi-platform, y'all.
That's right. That's right. I'm doing a D-Live exclusive stream right now, so this is there. And I'm working on getting up to 200 followers, so that way I can reach affiliate and be able to play reruns of things like this broadcast when I don't have any ideas to do on D-Live. And then Zerilath on YouTube, I am still building with about 365 subs currently, and videos that come out nearly daily, and live streams of various things, including tarot and rune readings over there as well.
Excellent. I'm up to 440 at the moment. So yeah.
Very
yeah. I thank you. Just need to double it so I can get monetized. Yeah, Brandon, in the fight.
First time I came on.
Brandon, where can people find you? Because are you still doing a show of sorts?
Not really. I do kind of behind the scenes work for Tim and Eric, comedy duo out of the United States. But other than that, I've been kind of keeping low and writing my novel. So thank you for having me on, everybody. Gentlemen, great to hear you guys.
Thank you very much. You have been listening to Planet Collingwood. We will be back in 6 days and 22 hours. How long that takes, we have no idea. And you're listening to Revolution Radio. Thank you, everyone. Love you all, but from afar, because I'm in Australia. We'll see you next week. We'll see how that goes. Goodbye, everybody.